Today we are going to discuss about analysis. LoadRunner provides analysis utility for analyzing the test obtained from test execution. The results are saved in LRR file, which is LoadRunner result file. Once we open the result file, analysis stores the display information and layout setting for active graph in a file with .lra extension. In tool demo, we will see the analysis utility and learn how to use it to drill down the results. Here is the test results that we got from the test execution in previous tutorial controller. Let's see what is there in the folder. Vector is HP LoadRunner result file, and this can be viewed through analysis. When we do double click on this, the file will open in analysis if it is already installed in the machine. Even we can open this file from analysis through browsing to the path where the results are saved. There is a folder named log. This contains visual logs. Information in the logs depends on the runtime setting that we have during the test. In our case, we have setting to generate logs when error occurred and log the parameter substitution value. We also instruct LoadRunner to generate a snapshot of the web page when transition failed. So let's get into this and see the logs in detail. So here you can see the text file and folders. The text file is visual logs, whereas the folders contain the snapshot of the web page when transition failed. So let's read this, but I just want to explain the nomenclature of this naming. If you remember, we have provided the name to the groups as web tool, so it's following the same thing, and _5. This means this is the 5th virtual user, and this is the 10th virtual user. So let's double click on this and try to open it and see what is there. So this is for second iteration. So this means the first iteration get passed, and this is our error. Okay, so look like the error is for correlation. During our correlation, we have mentioned to save the correlated value till 18 characters, but the value that get captured is of 17 character, and because of this the correlation failed. So this is our 17 character correlated value. So I think this is nothing but the script issue. So generally we should avoid having script issue. If there are a lot of script issue, we generally stop the test and rectify the error and rerun the test. Here it's just once this happened, and again this is not repeatedly coming, but still we should avoid it and try to fix this in the script itself. So with this error message, it look like this is the script issue. So let's confirm this with the snapshot that got generated during the test. So this is the snapshot for second iteration. Okay, so you can see this is the web page when the transition failed, and there is no error message over here. So whatever conclusion we made is correct. Let's close this and get back to the next log that we have for virtual user 10. Okay, so this failed for iteration 1, iteration 2, and look like this failed for every iteration. So for all iteration this user failed. Let's try to find why this failed. So this failed because some text check failed and the text was welcome. So I think we put this text check for login. So let's try to find why this failed. So see, for launch application, it's able to capture this session ID. So there should be something that we are entering, and I think let's check the credentials that we are providing. So we are providing demo user 20 as a username and happy1 as a password. So okay, so this is the issue. The password should be happy20, not happy1, and because of this the user is not able to log into the application, and that's why the text check is failing. So if you remember, we intentionally added this error because we want to produce some errors and failed transaction so that I can able to show you how to analyze the logs and come to the conclusion what is the issue. So let's navigate to the snapshot. Okay, so for every iteration the snapshot get generated. So here the web page that get generated. Let's see where is the error. Look like these are static content of the page. Okay, so here is the message: incorrect password. So this was something we have intentionally did, but generally the same happened when some application error comes. So generally that is HTTP 500 or page cannot be found, blah blah blah. So there are many errors that can come. So in that case we generally share these errors with the client, telling them that we got these errors during our test and these transition failed for these errors. So they will able to identify that when the user was doing a specific activity, for example login, it faced some issue and this very error comes. Okay, so this is the approach that we have for analyzing the user logs and try to find what is the reason behind the failed transactions. Let's go back and try to open this file in analysis. So I'm going to double click on this, the HP LoadRunner result file. So this is opening. Okay, so this is our test result. So the very first is the summary report. So LoadRunner generates the summary report of the test, and this is very helpful to get an idea about the test. So if you can see, you can have a lot of information on this: when the test was run, what was the duration of the test, what is the maximum number of users running during the test, what is the total data that we downloaded during the test, what is the average throughput per second, what is the total request made to the server during the test, that is the hits, what is the average hit per second, what is the total number of error that came during the test. It also gives a good summary of transaction, that is transaction summary. In that we can see how many transactions passed, total number of transactions failed. It gives us the breakup of individual transactions, the response time of transition, that is minimum, average, maximum, 90 percentile, how many times each transition passed, how many times each transition failed. So this gives us a good idea about the test. So you can see there is no HTTP 500 error generated during the test, all HTTP 200 errors. HTTP 200 response. If there is any HTTP 500 error, it will reflect over here, or HTTP 402. This is that error we have already seen why this failed. This also we have seen. You can see all the response time is minimum within 1 second. So as the load was very less, so all response time is within 1 second. So this is very good information, I will say. Apart from this, LoadRunner provides graphs, which is another good source of information. Now we will see what are the different graphs that are available. So there are few basic graphs which we already see over here. I will try to go through each one of them and try to explain what is the information that they are representing and how we can collect the useful data or information from them. Apart from these graphs, there are many other graphs which are not available as of now, but we can add it in this on demand. So, but I will not able to take all of them in this session because there are so many graphs. I request all of you to read about them and try to understand what information that they are representing and what information we can collect from them for the test. So the very first is running user graph. So you can see in 7 minutes test how we add virtual users during the test, or how many duration all the 10 virtual users were running, and how they left the test, that is ramp down. The another one is hit per second graph. This is very important graph as this shows what the request that we are making to the server. So you can see initially it was just starting, then during this time the requests were more or less same because this was a steady load period and this is a ramp down. So sometimes when we try to see try to find that how many users were running when this spike come up, in that case we have to merge the graph. Like I'm merging this graph with running user graph. So look like, see, it's now showing very nicely that during this phase when we are adding virtual user to the test, the hit was going up slowly. During this time it's almost like steady, and then this come down. We are seeing this so much points because we have granularity very low. If we increase the granularity, we can see a smooth graph. Maybe I can make it 25 and you will see this is almost steady graph. So granularity is another good thing that we should discuss over here. So the granularity affects the graph smoothing and number of data points. A high granularity value will reduce cluster and improve readability, but it may hide events such as spikes. So if you see one spike was here, so that is now missing. Let me make it 8 back. Okay, so there are few spikes which you can see now, but it was not visible when we have increased the granularity. So the trick is to adjust the granularity to maximize readability, but accuracy represent any important events. So for 7 minutes of test, I will say 8-second granularity is good. So the next graph is throughput graph. In this graph, we have the data that how many data was downloaded during the test. This generally goes hand in hand with hit per second graph. If we are making more requests to the server, we expect more data to download. Let's merge this graph with hit per second graph. So you can see when we are making more requests to the server, we are downloading more data. If ever we see any discrepancy in this graph, we generally should highlight that. Now the next is transaction summary, where we will see how many transactions passed and how many transactions failed. So we can see for login and for detail continue, the transaction failed. For others, everything get passed. Average transaction response time graph. This is very important graph, and here we will able to see the transaction response throughout the test in a graphical form. You can see the response time graph for launch. This is for login. This is for flight, click flight. So here we notice one thing, that during this time there is a spike in the response of the transaction. So we have to find out what was going wrong or what happened because of which the server take more time to respond to this request. Now detail continue, find flight, payment, click itinerary, cancel ticket. The same is the case with click cancel ticket. During this time there is a spike and user waited more longer to serve the request. So this is something we have to bring to the light. We have to highlight this. So in this case, we will have a communicate to the dev team or a client, stating them that something goes wrong during this time, because of which we see a spike for couple of transactions as click flight and cancel ticket. So we have to tell them the time, but here the time is coming in form of elapsed scenario time. But when we are talking to the client, when we are interacting with the client, we have to tell them the absolute time, so that they can drill down at their server logs and try to find what is going wrong. As we don't have access to the server, we will not able to find it. So we have to share it with the client, and we have to tell them the absolute time. So LoadRunner also provides the to fetch the absolute time with the display options. So as soon as I click on this, you will see the time absolute time start coming over here. Okay, so now we will approach to the client and saying them that between 1857 30 seconds and 1858 30 seconds we see spikes for the two transactions, and just want to know what was going wrong. So they will drill down to their server logs, server metrics, and figure out why this spikes was there. Apart from this, we have just seen only 5 graphs. Let's add more graphs. So LoadRunner provides the 5 category of graphs over here. user, error, transaction, web resource, web page diagnostic. So let's add. We already have this. We don't need this. Let's figure out. We don't have any graph related to error. So I'm going to add error per second graph, total error per second graph. Now for transaction, we already have average response time graph and transaction summary. I am going to add transaction per second and total transaction per second graph. I am invoking this graph with double click on this. We already have two graphs. I want to add this graph as well. So once again, I'm going to double click on this. And the last category, that is a web page diagnostic, I am going to add web page diagnostic. I can also invoke this this graph by hitting open graph. So that is sufficient. Once again, let's drill down to this graph. So this is the error that we got and we just see during the test. So at any point of time, if you want to see the raw data on the basis of this, the graph was plotted, you can access the raw data. So I'm going to download this. Okay. So you can see information on the basis of which the graph was plotted. There is a which transaction field, what is the error message, the host, error types, script name, the action it was running, group name. But for more information, we have to navigate and access user logs, which we have already done it. So you can see the same error message we are getting, like this is the failed transaction, welcome failed. This is for offset, where we were trying to save 18 characters, but 17 characters was only there. So it is the same thing. Okay, so at any point of time, even not only for this, for any graph, if you want to see the raw data, you can click and generate the raw data. Now this is a total error per second graph. You can see the error graph throughout the test. This is a transaction per second graph. How many transaction launch pass, fail, login pass, login transaction failed. And this is total transaction per second. This is a graph for fail, and this is for past transactions. Connection per second. And this is web page diagnostic. So this is important. We have to highlight this. Make sure we will do it. Now let me show you some more information for analysis. That is it has a very good feature where we can compare two results of same test. Maybe you run a test before deployment and after deployment and do the comparison. So you can do the good comparison and try to create the report from cross with results option. Okay, and okay, yes, couple of times we can see we want to see the runtime setting that we have during the test. So what happens, it's generally a bit confusing that we run the test with like initially that think time was 10 seconds, in the next test it was 15 seconds, and couple of times it was really difficult to identify what was the think time or what was the pacing, which really affect the test. So This option helps us to find the way where we can see and check the runtime setting that we have during the test. Okay, so now the next is reports. LoadRunner Analysis has very good reporting engine. So let's click and try to generate a report of this test. So LoadRunner already created templates for generating the reports. So cross section section means when we are doing the comparison between the two tests. But here we are just trying to create the test report for single run. So we will go with for single run. So we have customer facing report, detailed report and high level report. Depending on the requirement, this we will select this report and this data as well changes, because high level report, the higher management is only interested on this information. Detailed report, the development team is more interested in knowing these features, these data. So this totally depends what is the requirement and with whom we are sharing the report. So we create the report which is highly customizable. Here we can give a proper title. Now we can give a name, organization ABC. If we want to save this as a template so that we need not to do all these changes again, we will do this. Else we can directly hit generate report. Now LoadRunner is trying to generate the report. Okay, so you can see the report. This is really very helpful for development team to figure out what is the issue, and these metrics really helps them in tuning the application. Now we have to save this report. So we have a lot of ways where we can save this report. We generally go with PDF or Microsoft Word format. I want to save all the pages. Click OK. So we have report and we will share it with the client, highlighting the spike that we have seen in our test. So guys, with this we complete the tutorial for LoadRunner. So far we have completed all important topics with their practical aspects. I suggest you guys to read more on LoadRunner. HP keep on adding more features and protocol. Keep yourself updated with that. Focus on analysis, at this is a skill which we need to develop with time and experience. I request you guys to like the video on site and through comments at softwaretestinghelp.com. You can send me your queries. Thank you so much.